Hello learners, my name is Mukesh Kumar and today we are going to explain a poem. The name of the poem is The Photograph and it is prescribed by CBSE in class 11th. The writer of this poem is Shirley Tolson. And in this lecture, we will discuss the complete explanation of this poem, the rhyme scheme used in this poem, and some poetic devices. But before going to the in-depth explanation of this poem, let's study something about the writer. This poem is written by Catherine Shirley Tolson. She was a writer, a journalist, and a local politician also. She has written for many prestigious magazines like Tribune, and at a point of time she was a teacher also. Now let's start with the poem. I am going to recite this poem for you, but it would be a blind recitation. That means you will not be able to see this poem on your screen. And I would want you to not look into your books and just listen to the poem and try to find out if you are able to find any rhyme scheme in this poem. Let's start. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hand, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Some 20, 30 years later, she'd laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. The sea holiday was her past and mine is her laughter. Both wry with the labored ease of loss. Now she's been dead nearly as many years as the girl lived, and of this circumstance, there's nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. Now, did you notice any of the rhyme scheme? I guess not, because this poem does not have any rhyme scheme or rhythm for that matter. The poems which do not have rhyme scheme or rhythm in them are called free verse. That means they are free of any kind of rhymings. So this poem is a free verse. That means there is no rhyme scheme in this poem. Now this first reading also tells us that the poem is telling us a story of the speaker in the poem who has lost her mother. Now the whole poem is very sad, but at the end of the poem it becomes really gloomy. Now let's go through the detailed explanation of all the paragraphs. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hand, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. This stanza starts with the word cardboard. Now what this cardboard shows? This cardboard shows a picture of speaker's mother with two girl cousins. Now how can a cardboard show a picture? Now you need to understand that this was an older times when pictures used to be printed on cardboards and not on the papers like nowadays. Now what the picture is showing? The picture is showing speaker's mother with two girl cousins who are posing to the uncle with the camera. Now the speaker goes on and compares the sea which is behind those three people in the picture and compares the changes in the sea with the changes in the life of those three people. She says that the sea is washing their terribly transient feet. Now there is a transferred epithet in there. What is a transferred epithet? It means giving the quality of the whole body to just one part of the body. Now, if you understand, if you look at it very seriously, you would understand that the whole body of human beings are very transient. That means very temporary. We'll live a life of merely 100 years. And if we compare this lifespan to the lifespan of the sea, we'll see that our body is very temporary, very transient. But the poet says that the sea is washing their terribly transient feet. Giving the quality of the whole body to just the feet is called transferred epithet. Some 20, 30 years later, she'd laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, and mine is her laughter. Both wry with the labored ease of loss. Now the speaker takes us to an imaginary situation. In stanza 2, she is imagining if her mother were alive. If she were alive, she would laugh at the picture and say, see how heavily they dressed us for this occasion, or how weirdly they dressed us for this beach holiday. Now the speaker says that the beach holiday was her mother's past, but her past is the laughter of the mother, because now she is not able to enjoy the laughter of her mother. The last line of the stanza is, they both wry with labored ease of loss. That means both the mother and the daughter, that means the speaker and her mother, are disgusted with this labored ease of loss. Now, labor and ease are very special combination because they both symbolize very different meaning, or we can say the completely opposite meaning to each other, where labor means making too much efforts and ease means the situation of relaxing. Now, when we combine the words of completely opposite meaning, this is called oxymoron. This is a poetic device you need to remember. Now she's been dead nearly as many years as the girl lived, and of this circumstance, there's nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. Now in the third stanza, the speaker reveals an astonishing fact that her mother is dead. And for how many years she's been dead? She's been dead for 12 years. Now how do I know that she's been dead for 12 years? She says that her mother has been dead for as many years as the girl in the photograph has lived. And from the previous stanza we know that her mother in the photograph is 12 years old. Now this provides us a hint that it's been 12 years that her mother is dead. Now this particular situation is very sad and very gloomy for the speaker, and she says that for this particular situation, for this particular circumstances, she does not have anything to say at all. And the silence of the situation silences everything. The last sentence of this poem says, it's silence, silences. That means the silence of the circumstance silences. Now we know that silencing somebody is the quality of a person, but this quality has been given to the silence of a circumstance. This means personification, the poetic device, is used here to give the quality of a person to silence. Its silence silences. So learners, this was the whole study of this poem. We went through the rhyme scheme, the complete explanation of this poem, and 3 different poetic devices, namely transferred epithet, oxymoron, and personification. Now at the end of this lesson, I have a homework for you all. I used one single word with 2 different pronunciation in this lesson. I want you all to go through this lesson again and find out that word. And let me know what that word was and what do you think was the correct pronunciation of this word. See you soon.